Welcome back to my shop. I've been away longer than I wanted to because I've had some medical issues, and I also sold my 10-inch Excelsior lathe, but not before I finished the project. My new lathe is a bigger, better, more expensive also. The new lathe is a Laguna Revo 1836, and it's so much larger than the Excelsior. A lot to get familiar with. So far, just making a tool rest and dust collector stand. Meanwhile, back to this project. I'm calling it a vase for dried flowers, and my wife has already claimed it. I used the Woodturner Pro for the design and helping with the wedge size and count. Love this program. It does take time to learn the program, and if you're away from it for a while, you need to retrain yourself. Hope you get something out of this video and enjoy the process of making wedge bowls. There's a lot to making one bowl. When you're gluing up the rings, you have to be quick about it. Somehow my camera got stuck in fast forward. Don't know how it happened, but I fixed it later. Okay, what I've got is my bandsaw set up with the stop. I've set it for 1 inch. I've set this angle 30 degree for 12 segments, and since this is a very small narrow piece, I'm doing it on the bandsaw instead of the table saw. This way here I don't get as much waste, and everything is basically the same except that I have to flip this back and forth. This is for ring number 6. Okay, so there's 12 pieces. We're all set to glue up ring number 6. Well, I'm going to glue up ring number 6. I should put a mark on that for purposes of knowing what I got. Number 6. I've got to cut out for number 4 because I didn't cut those out yet. And I've got 2, 3, and 5 done. Now we're into 6. And I've marked the tops, and I've marked them 1, 2, 3 through 12 so that they fit together properly. Okay, I've got this set up so that we're going to cut the center ring, the decorative center ring with 3 different colors on it. We're going to cut 12 pieces, 4, 8, 12, and that'll make up our center ring, plus we're going to have a little spacer between each one because of the fact we want that decorative split all around it. So here goes. Well, as you know, we've already smoothed this out a little bit. We've got to smooth out at least one side of each of these, and as I smooth them out, I mount them, and then run this, clean this up on the lathe. Then I'll smooth another one and glue it up, etc., all the way to the top. So right now, I just got to use this board to smooth one side. Make sure it's perfectly flat. That'll go on to here. And then, like I say, do that on the lathe. All right. I'm using an 80 grit, so it's pretty coarse, but it's the way to get it smooth. I keep moving it so I don't get one short spot. Well, there it is. We've got it perfectly flat. You had noticed before that it had the marks on it, like that one there. It's all clean. That one's not, because that's not going to matter. So this is what we do on every single ring. This one will go here. It'll glue up nicely, and I won't have an issue with being flat to match the other surface. So, and onward we go to the next one. Well, I've decided to make two separate rings in the center. This is where I stand now. So I've got number 2, number 3, and I'm going to make two separate fancy rings here with the 3 different colors. And then I've got, so that'll be 4 and 5, but this is called 5 also. And then 6, and I'm making another separate ring on the top, which will be narrow like this one here. So right now, I'm getting rid of all the fuzzies, and I'm keeping everything set up. So this, we'll call it 5, and this one is 4. So I'll get rid of all the fuzzies, and we'll move on to the next process. So that's what we're at now. The bandsaw did a wool rough cut. So what I'm doing, just as a precaution, is to just run that a little bit on the sandpaper, just to smooth it out a little bit so there's no bumps anyhow from the bandsaw. So now we have ring 4, ring 5, which will go on to ring 5, 6, and then we still have to make up 7. I believe there's one more. So that's it. Okay, I'm gluing up number 4. Little trick I learned last night on the internet, the Papa 1947. He says, don't glue the whole thing together and push everything together. He says, put some glue on one side and then just touch it to the next one, and then work your way around. Make sure I get the right side here. And this way you can still work them. The glue doesn't adhere right away, so you have time to work with it, which I've had trouble with that. The first few that I put together seem to not want to move after I get them all together. So we'll see what happens here. He also showed me how to put the rubber band on, and I'll show you that in a second too. It's amazing what you can learn on the internet. You put enough glue on so that both sides are going to have glue on them. This one I got to glue both sides. Okay, so we hold this in place with a little pressure, not much. Then we drop the rubber band down over the whole thing. Hopefully you can see that. And then we let off the pressure so that we can readjust, make sure all the pieces are lined up properly. Yeah, it's working great. To line them up. Okay. Now we can put that back in the clamp to make sure that we're flat. Everything is flattened out. Put our disc on there. That's all there is to it. We'll let that set for a while, and then we'll glue up the next ring. After gluing up the first ring to the base on the stopper, I have to true it up to be able to add the next ring on top of this one. Now I can continue to add rings to my vase, using the stomper to center each consecutive ring on top of one another. Well, ring number, we'll call it number 3 here because we get the base 1, 2, and this is 3. I've got to sand this out and then be able to put the next rings on. While I've got this in here, I'm going to just shape it a little bit here and shape a little bit the inside just so I can reach it because we're stacking this up pretty high. So here goes. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. I got to get the next ring on and keep working at it. Okay, I'm going to leave it here. I've got this all turned. The outside has a shape to it. This got, it's very thick, but I'm going to have to blend in the next layer. So that's where we stand right now. Okay, I'm going to turn this down a little bit to, I've still got several more rings to put on. I've got to put this ring here, and I've got to put the final ring on. That's going to be a very tall bowl, but So I'm going to turn this down a little bit, turn the inside, and get that all straightened out. I just finished putting this together using my homemade long chuck, and this is mounted on the lathe, of course, and I wanted to make sure that I got it centered, and in order to do that I used the long chuck, tightened it up against the existing ring. I have 3 rings that were already glued together, and now we've got the base 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers, and I've got 2 more layers to actually put on before the top of the bowl is finished, till we get to that point. So right now I'm going to let that set up, go have some lunch. I'll be back. Okay, before I put these two together, like so, I have to true up this edge here because it's just a little off flat. So I'm going to true it up with the sandpaper, get it smooth, and then we can glue up the final section of discs. Perfect. Okay, now we can put the glue on and get that going here. Okay, before I put the next ring on, I need to clean this out here, and I need to taper this down. So I'm gonna do the inside first. I'll match that up with the previous. I've already cleaned that out and sanded it to 200. And what I'm going to do is just do these 3 rings inside, and then the outside, trim them up, and then I can put my final ring on. We don't have much here, so whatever goes on there, we got to be careful with it, because I had to take too much off on the inside because it chattered. So we're going to have a very thin section at the top. So now it's time to glue the last section on. I've got it all set up in here. Perfect match. Now we put the glue on. Well, I've just completed the glue up of the last ring. I gotta let that set, and then we'll clean it up and sand it all out. Well, we're here at the final stages of the turning. I've got to turn the inside, and I've got to turn the outside of the last 2 rings. As you see, I've shaped the outside. I may change a little bit here, but most of it's pretty much where it's going to be. And I've shaped the inside up to about here. Well, up to this point. Needs to all be sanded, of course. So there we go. Okay, I'm going to leave the outside the way it is. I'll have to sand it down. That's 80 grit. I'll have to sand it down to 400. And now I have to work on the inside. And I'll use a different rest here. Just a little recap of where we're at. Now, I did make the base the same. I've got two different layers here. The middle layer I did change up a little bit. I've got 2 half-inch sections instead of the 1 half-inch section. Then I've got, instead of 3/4 inch and a half-inch, what I did was split them so that I've got half-inch, half-inch, half-inch. And I put a piece of mahogany, it's a veneer, that I laid in between the 2 layers here just to make the little line going around here. As you can see, there's a line going around these 2. Then I've got another half-inch here. Now the top, as you hopefully can see, instead of making just a half-inch, I've added another layer. Now I forgot to put the spacers, these brown spacers, in between on the middle layer. But I did put them on the upper layer so that you can see there's a spacer between each one. And instead of making the 1 layer, I did 2, which gave it a little more something, I don't know. But I think it came out pretty good. Once this polyurethane dries, it's a fast drying polyurethane. Once I get that dried, I'll cut this off with a parting tool. I've got a 1/16 inch Robert Sorby parting tool, which I'll go in there and slice that off very carefully. I'll put a mount on this end just so that it doesn't fly off, and we'll take it off of the base. We'll do the sanding of the base, get that all set up, and then we'll be done. Okay, I've already put 2 coats on this. I'm going to put a 3rd coat of polyurethane. It's a fast drying polyurethane. I'm going to put that on, and then we'll let it set up, and then we'll cut it off at the base, probably tomorrow. Okay, so that's that. That's enough to put on there. I'll cut it off when that dries, and then we'll finish off the bottom. Put my mark on the bottom. Okay, what I'm going to do is to cut this off. I've got to put a little brace on the side here so that we don't get a warbly piece. We're just going to snug it a little bit so that it won't spin there. There, that should do it. We're going to cut mostly through. I'll use my saw to finish it off. So at this point we're going to cut through there with the okay, I've got maybe a ½ inch. Got maybe a ½ inch left here, and what I'm going to do is take my little saw and I'll finish it up with the saw. That's it. Okay, now I'll do the rest with a sander. Looks like I got a little hump in the middle there. I'll have to take that off. I might even stick it in the coal jaws. I just finished putting my stamp on the bottom, and I put one coat of polyurethane on it. I've buffed this up with the Scotch-Brite, and I put a coat of wax on there. It came up pretty good. It's hard to see the writing in the dark wood, but if you're in person, it makes a big difference. It looks good. So that's where we're at. We'll put another couple of coats on the bottom, and we'll be done. Well, I'm down to the last coat of polyurethane on the bottom. Everything's been polyurethaned, cleaned up. I just have to put a little wipe on there. Here's the original pattern, which is a little different from what I've got. So we'll just put the last coat of poly on here. There, all done. Cover my poly up, and we'll let that dry. I won't touch it to the bottom, but here it is. And we'll be all set. That's it. The vase is 5 1/4 inches tall, 5 inches wide, and the base is 3 3/4 inches. The base and the dark wood in the decorative rings is therm poplar. The lighter wood is bass wood, and the medium brown wood is red oak. I hope this video was helpful for your project. It's always fun to make something new. Thank you for watching, and please tell your friends. Leave a comment if you'd like. Hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching.